Hey, so Trump said some horrible shit yesterday where he called immigrants animals. And some people are arguing whether he called MS-13 animals. And either way, it's completely unacceptable. Uh, Dehumanizing people is the language of genocide. And I wanted to make a video about this instead of having a million different Facebook arguments. And then while thinking about what I wanted to say, I realized that needs to be addressed, and that seems to actually be pretty well addressed by a lot of people. But there's something we're missing, and I want to talk about that. And that is the big lie. And the question of why in the world at this conference, this meeting that Trump was having about sanctuary cities and immigration, would he bring up MS-13? Okay. MS-13 is a gang, and they're a bunch of criminals, and a lot of them, they've done some absolutely horrible things. Some of them could be classified as terrorists, I guess, if you talk to, depending on what they were trying to accomplish. But it's a law enforcement issue, and there are Americans as well as foreign nationals who are part of MS-13. But Trump, kicking off this meeting, started it with, California's law provides safe harbor to some of the most vicious and violent offenders on earth, like MS-13 gang members, putting innocent men, women, and children at the mercy of these sadistic criminals. But we're moving them out of this country by the thousands. MS-13, we're grabbing them by the thousands, and we're getting them out, Kevin. He's talking to Kevin McCarthy, the GOP majority leader in the House and Bakersfield representative right there. And all of that is a lie. If you're a convicted gang member, if you're convicted of a felony, California's law doesn't even affect you. It doesn't change how law enforcement would treat you. If you're dangerous, no. That's a complete lie. And there's an even bigger lie behind that, and it's one of Trump's favorites. And we need to talk about it, because it's the lie that immigrants are dangerous. It's the entire basis behind his wall and his Muslim ban. And he loves to try and drive this narrative. But the bottom line is, immigrants aren't dangerous. If you want to go ahead and look it up, please do. Okay? Because you'll find that undocumented immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than citizens. So if you really want to fight crime, you'd have better luck deporting citizens than deporting undocumented immigrants. But he's trying to get mileage out of your sense of insecurity by lying to you about them being dangerous, by lying about Muslims being dangerous. Right? And where does he get this idea? He literally took a page out of Hitler's book. The book that Hitler wrote, Mein Kampf, covers the idea of the big lie, and it says, all of this was inspired by the principle, which is quite true within itself, that in the big lie there is always a certain force of credibility, because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in the deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily, and thus, in the primitive simplicity of their minds, they more readily fall victims to the big lie than the small lie, since they themselves often tell small lies in little matters, but would be ashamed to resort to large-scale falsehoods. It would never come into their heads to fabricate colossal untruths, and they would not believe that others could have the impudence to distort the truth so infamously. Even though the facts which prove this to be so may be brought clearly to their minds, they will still doubt and waver and will continue to think that there may be some other explanation. For the grossly impudent lie always leaves traces behind it, even after it has been nailed down, a fact which is known to all expert liars in this world, and to all who conspire together in the art of lying. Okay. So the quick translation on that is, if any of that was confusing, it's way easier to appeal to people subconsciously, and small lies you're going to pick up on because we all tell small lies in regular life, but very few of us, have just the complete disrespect for the truth and for our audience to go ahead and tell a really big lie about a big topic. And so the big lie sticks. And then even after the big lie is revealed, it often still sticks around. Okay? And he doesn't go into that in this excerpt, but my guess is, people often have many reasons. They don't want to feel like they were duped. They don't, they have some sort of subconscious bias that makes them want to still believe it, but whatever. Bottom line is that the big lie is Trump's game, right? And on immigration, that is all he has, is the big lie. Everything coming out of his mouth is a lie. And so if you are making any sort of excuse for him whatsoever on any of this, I'm not even talking about the specific wording, whether it's animals referring to MS-13 or to, undocumented immigrants, at all. The way he treats immigration is that immigrants are a danger. Undocumented immigrants are a danger. That's false. 100% completely false. And for him to keep running around doing that, all he's doing is inflaming the kind of hatred of these immigrants. Like the guy he stole the page out of the book from. All right? Target one group of people. Okay? And if you're starting to make excuses for that, you now have all of the information you need to know where this is heading. Right? And when you look back, unfortunately, evil is not exceptional, it's unfortunately ordinary. It's in all of us. Right? When you look back at the pictures of the Nazis, or slave owners and anybody where right now we're like, those people are evil. Back then, they were people who just didn't question the big lie. They were people who went along with things. And they were surrounded by a bunch of other people who made excuses, about that big lie. Who said, oh, it's not really that big of a deal. He doesn't actually mean that. And so therefore, we don't have to worry. We do have to worry. The big lie is what undermines society and puts entire populations at risk. Right now, the United States government is tearing apart families. They're sending parents back across the border. Well, they're throwing everybody in private prisons first. And they're planning on warehousing children apart from their parents on military bases. And if you are honestly worried about something like MS-13 or ISIS, right, tearing apart families and giving kids a grudge against the United States government, that should maybe be a bit higher on your list of actual dangers to the security of the United States. But more important than that, it's a danger to our soul, our decency. We are supposed to be better than this. Right? But if you're making excuses for Trump, or if you're supporting him in any way on this, you are going to be judged harshly by history. So you have a small window of time to get on the right side of history. Right? Because as Martin Luther King said, all evil needs to succeed is for good men to do nothing. If you're a good person, you have to fight against the big lie. You have to fight against all of this right now. And stop making excuses, stop justifying.